I don't know if I've ever worked smart because I'm always just figuring it out as I go. It's just me hoping for the best, like every step of the way, having no idea what I'm doing. I will always find the most difficult path to do anything.
Same, same. But look at you, you're doing great. So it's all good.
Great is relative.
Access denied. Access denied. Access denied.
Hey y'all, it's your host Jessica Jordan, and I'm here on Access Denied, the podcast dedicated to helping you get over your fear of rejection, one episode at a time. Let's go! Another week, another episode. Welcome back to Access Denied, y'all. I am so freaking excited because this week I am joined by Sarah Regensburger, who is a vegan fashion designer, activist, and a friend of mine. Sarah and I talk about so many fun topics in this episode, from the fashion industry and London Fashion Week, as well as veganism, activism, and we spill the real tea on what it's really like to move to a different country. I hope y'all enjoy this episode. Let's dive in. Sarah, oh my goodness, thank you so much for being here. Welcome to Access Denied. How are you doing today?
I'm very good and I'm super grateful. Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited. So excited.
Oh, thank
How
you
are
so much
you?
for being here. How am I? I'm tired this morning, but you know what? It's okay. My hair is up. The humidity in Chicago's been outrageous, so my hair is up,
Oh,
and we're just we're pushing through. But I'm so energized by just seeing your face here on my screen right now. I was like, oh my God, my friend, it's so good to see you. So I'm
you
really
already miss
excited.
London misses you. London misses you.
Oh, I miss London. I miss London so much. Not that I don't like Chicago, but I do miss London. So, welcome, like I said, to Access Denied. Thank you for being here. Can you introduce yourself, tell people who you are, what your story is, just a little bit of background?
So my name is Sarah. I'm born and raised in Germany. My parents were from Iran, so that's kind of my heritage background. I moved to London in 2018, and I am a vegan fashion designer. I have my own vegan fashion brand. So combining my passion for the animals and my passion for fashion. And yeah, that's what I do. And that's how we met as well. So yeah, just my goal is to change the fashion industry and shake it up a little bit. Yeah, that's about it. And I live in London, and yeah, very grateful being here and like having my brand.
Your brand is amazing. I just got to say, I obviously was introduced to you through your Fashion Week show. I came to the open call audition with my friend, and I was just like, oh, I love this energy of like being a rebel, being a badass, and just like owning it. And also, like, I always say that one of my style inspirations is Reputation by Taylor Swift, like that whole album. And I feel like your clothes just like embody that energy. Like it's a
Oh,
very
great.
similar energy, and I love it so much.
I love
So,
it. When you walked into the casting, I was like, yes, that energy. Like, you're just a rebel with a cause, right? That's what I say. My brand is for rebels with a cause. And like, when I saw you, I was like, so grateful you came to the open casting. I was like, because obviously before Fashion Week, super stressful. And then that day was so worth it. Like, it felt so good that everybody felt welcome and it was such a nice vibe. And yeah, just felt like fashion can be good. You know what I mean?
for sure. And I was like so grateful for how welcoming you all were. I mean, that was one of my first like open call auditions for sure. Definitely for a runway, because I'd done like photo shoots and stuff. That was my first like proper runway audition in any sort of capacity. And I just remember being like so nervous, but you had it in this beautiful like coffee shop, open, sunny, green space. And I was like, first of all, that just brought positive energy. And then everybody that was like working with you, the whole team was so kind and open and receptive. And it was so wonderful.
Mm.
So
Happy you felt welcome. That's literally you attract your tribe, right? So we're all just nice people which want to do cool shit, you know what I
literally.
mean?
Wait, that is so true. I feel like that is the right there community, the people you surround yourself with is what you become. Like there's like that age-old saying, like the five people you surround yourself with the most are the people that you is who you become. And
Yeah.
I think there's so much merit to that. I really do.
So true. So it's really important to be like having the same vibe around you, what you want to be, what you want to attract. So I think positivity, I feel like the fashion industry can be quite, known as not being a positive place. And then I'm like, oh yeah, I've really worked with people that are really positive. I get it all the time. Is it like devil wears Prada? And I'm like, not really. I actually choose to work with people that are really nice and kind, and everybody is around me. So it can be good and fun.
Like, and your energy welcomes that in, though. Like, to your point, like, you put out what you receive in a lot of ways. Like, it's the vibration, energy, all the woo-woo stuff that that I know we both are into.
I know.
But that all to say, I would love to hear more about like your experience in fashion, how you got started in fashion, why fashion, all of that. I know that's like 3 different questions, but however you want to answer it.
No, that's amazing. Well, to be fair, my mom used to have a clothing store in Germany. So I pretty much grew up like around fashion. And I started really young to love to draw and to sketch. I was really into anime, like yeah, so it started there, I think. Even the anime now looking back was really fashionable and I was like, it makes sense, right? When you look back, you're like, oh, now I get it. But yeah, so I kind of started there, and then when I was like 12 or something, I was like, oh, I want to study fashion design. And I kid you not, I told everyone, and like people were like, no, not really. Like that's not really a job, right? Which a lot of times we experience in the creative industry, like the backlash of like it's not really a job. Anyway, so going through, like, I studied fashion design in Munich, and then I applied for an internship at Adidas. And I got the internship, which was great. And then I worked there for 4 years, so from an internship to an employment. And I loved working there. A really, really great company to work for. And but I always wanted to move to London, so I feel like location wise, it was a bit tricky. So I worked there 4 years and then I quit it and I came to London with all these big dreams and no plan. So that was literally how my fashion journey went in a very short, explanation. But yeah, that's pretty much it. And then I moved to London, and from there everything kind of, happened. I started applying for jobs and I couldn't find a job. And that's where my whole thing started, with starting my brand.
Okay, I love this. Okay, so my follow-up question then is, would you say that not getting any of those jobs is what led then to your fashion brand?
Yes, I mean, I say always, rejection is redirection. And I know you have heard that from me a lot of times, but it's just been proven so many times in my life. Like, I tried to apply and apply, and I got interviews, like great interviews, and like everybody was super happy with my work, and I just couldn't get one. And at the end of the day, then I started deciding to put all that effort and time into my own brand, and I restarted. Like, I was like, you know what? Why don't I just start my own thing? It's my dream anyways. So this is why I really believe rejection is redirection. Otherwise I wouldn't be here and I wouldn't have had my brand. And by then I became vegan as well. So it all aligned in a way. Like, when I started my brand, I was like, it needs to be a vegan brand. So yeah, I do truly believe that led me to where I am today.
Wait, I love this. I want to talk about the veganism within the brand. Because while I myself am not vegan, one thing that I love about everything to do with your brand is the messaging behind it. Like the rebel like messaging, I think is really key and important, but also within that is the veganism, and it is like this cause for a greater good. And I would love to hear about how that like has really driven you in your fashion journey.
Well, when I started, I just changed my lifestyle. Like, when I started the brand, I just had to rethink my choices, because if you just change your whole life, and then, with the business, it's so personal. So that really has been driving me. And then I researched and I found so many great alternatives. And that's been 5 years ago. I feel like we talk more about vegan fashion now. And I know there is brands that existed like even, more than 5 years ago, but it was still not that common. So this has always driven me, and I found it was such a great thing to do. And I've learned so much about alternative materials, like cactus leather, pineapple leather, that are better for the environment, for the animals, and for the humans, because the production of leather and coat is also not really good. Yeah, so it has become like such a big part of my life. And this year I started also animal rights activism. So yeah, and I'm sharing it on my brand page. Like, even though I say rebel with a cause, everybody has a different cause, right? But this is my cause, and that's the cause of the brand. And there is many causes I stand for, but that's really the core of the brand. And I think if your reason why is big enough, you just sacrifice, because it is a lot of sacrifices. I had to relearn being a fashion designer. I had to unlearn using animal-based materials, right? And there's really nice materials, that I was like, they look great. And I'm like, oh, I can't use it. Like, that was a big choice for me. And now it's more natural. I know where to go, but like, it's really like you learn how to walk. I had to learn how to become a vegan fashion designer.
I love that. That's so okay. So so many things to unpack here. I just feel like that's so one, I admire you for sticking to your guns, I think, and like really committing to the cause and being like, all right, well, this isn't necessarily like a natural thing because there's so much within the fashion industry that tells you to do this and to do that. And you're like looking at alternative adaptations, if you will, which like for me, like as a disabled woman, like my whole life is about like learning how to adapt outside of that norm. And so I can just relate to that experience. But from like a professional perspective, there's so many, and I would say especially like in the fashion industry, similarly to like the beauty industry, right? There's so many standards, there's so many like norms and like rules to follow. And so you're actively breaking those barriers. I feel like everything that you design, everything that you do that like kind of leans into that side of it. And I think that's really awesome. And it's really inspiring to so many other people, women, men, everyone out there to be like, it's so, so important to like have values and like stick to it, despite the fact that like it maybe goes against what is easy and what is been done in history and like what is societally accepted. It like gives permission to people. So thank you for sharing that. I think that's a really powerful thing that you just said. I don't know if you understand how powerful it is, but like I like hear the power in it.
I love that. And I think that's my whole goal with the brand, is not only going against, like going against everything what we've been told, like if it's beauty norms, how a model should look like. Like, I just don't think that's how it should be. Like, I grew up in the 90s and everybody looked the same, and I always wanted to look like the models. And I feel like from my personal experience, I really don't want that to happen with my brand. And, when I did the show, I had so many diverse models, but not because I felt like I had to. I wanted to. For me, it's about the personality of a model and not about, how they look. Of course, it's how they look, but it's the energy. I can't just like quite describe it. It's that rebel energy. It's that, that badass energy, and just combining that. And that's what it is. And it's not about, all looking the same. And when someone told me at the show that they've never seen a more diverse show for Fashion Week, that really made me so emotional, because that's meaningful. That's one of my values. I want everyone to be welcome. I want, to show alternatives, vegan alternatives that look amazing. Because we think vegan fashion doesn't look attractive. I'm like, yes, it does. But yeah, all of these values, that's kind of my brand, what my brand stands for, really.
Having been in that show, I can attest it was genuinely one of the most diverse spaces, not even just like runways, spaces I think I've ever been in. The different like skin colors and body sizes and ages. I think that was also another thing too. It was all over the place in such a beautiful way, because fashion's for everybody. Fashion's for everybody, and everybody of any age, any skin type, any look can be a rebel with a cause. And I think you
Exactly.
communicated that so beautifully.
Thank you.
Also, I've never talked about this with you, I don't think, but one thing that really stood out to me was how you went above and beyond to make the show accessible as well. I was not the only disabled model in the show, but I remember I came to my fitting the night before pretty late. I was like probably one of the last people there. And you and your team were figuring out how to get a ramp attached to the stage up until it was like 9:30 at night. And we all had to be there the next day at like, I don't know, 8 o'clock or something really early. And I was like, oh my God. And I'll never forget it because the ramp was struggling. I was struggling to get my chair up but you and your team were so committed, like, we have to get this fixed. We have to do this. Like, it has to be accessible. And I was like, the commitment to inclusion is so wholesome.
It should be like this, though. I think it should really be the norm. I really think so. And I know that ramp, I was like, we found a solution in the end, but I was just like, oh my gosh, obviously I ordered the wrong ramp. It still works. You know what I mean? I was just like, I asked the location before. I just made sure I just want everyone to be included, and I want everyone to feel like, that it's just a norm. Like, I don't even see it as like, it has to be the norm every day in our everyday lives. And I know it isn't, but like, this is kind of why we made such a commitment to it, because it has to be done, if that makes sense. And I'm happy you felt that way. It makes me really happy.
Yeah, no, you definitely went above and beyond. But like, to your point, it should be the norm. It shouldn't be considered above and beyond. It should just be like how it is. And I think you set a precedent in so many ways with your brand, with the messaging, with the commitment to avoiding like animal products, and your commitment to diversity and inclusion. I think all of that speaks to what your brand is about. And I do think that like we're seeing that a lot in the fashion industry right now, is this beginning, it's a trickle effect, but it is happening, of like inclusion, I think. And I think that you're at the forefront of that. And I'm so proud to like have worked with you, but also to know you and like see the future of fashion developing before my eyes.
Yes. And I really hope that it will be. I know it's changing, but there is so much more that can happen. So I really just hope it's going to be that way. And that's going to be the future. It's going to be better anyway, like that. So what are we waiting for?
What are we waiting for? One thing I know we also have in common is, like, as you already said, like, you came from Germany to London in 2018. And I guess I just want to hear like more about that experience. Like, one, why London? And two, when you came to London, did you experience any, I don't think barriers is the word I'm looking for here, but challenges, I guess, in being in a new country, being in a new space? Obviously we heard about the job front, but feel free to even dive into that a little deeper if that is like the angle you think is important here. But I just am curious about your experience moving to a new country with no plan.
No plan, love that. That's so good. Just go with that plan. Okay. Well, I was kind of like, I know it's gonna be quite not difficult, but it's not gonna be easy, right? That's kind of what I thought moving. But it's really not. Like, the beginning is quite challenging. Like, I feel like just being here and like, I think I was a bit naive, but maybe you have to be. Maybe if you know what's coming your way, you're going to be like, oh my gosh. London, I don't have a specific reason. I went to London with my dad when I was 12 and fell in love with London. I love that punk and that rebelliousness. I just love it. It's a good fashion city as well, right? But could have been in Paris, but no, London is that rebel place. I don't know. It's in its DNA. The punks, Vivienne Westwood, like all that just adds to the energy. So I think that's why London. Yeah, but I feel like challenges. Yes, I do think it is the most challenging thing you can do is to move to a different country. And yes, I'm from Germany. It's still Europe. It's still super different. And you think, right? It's not so different. It's really different. But it's all worth it. I feel like it's necessary for character building. And I am not who I was before. You really know who your friends are. And, there is a saying, and your friends will not support you, but, strangers will. And this has showed me the whole journey. And it has been a challenging one, but it has been all worth it because I feel like it added to my personality, to what I stand for. I moved to London and I became vegan. Like, there is so many, even though there were so many challenges, it was so good for me. Like, I wouldn't want to change this at all. I had a burnout as well because I've been worrying about living here. I wanted to make it work. It's been really like a couple of tough things that happened, but that built me. That's why I'm where I am. And I wouldn't have been that person if I would have stayed in Germany. I wouldn't have started my brand maybe. Like, I think it's all, despite all these challenges, that's what I want to say. It's been so good for me. And I'm so happy I did it. And I'm so happy I'm still here, in London. Yeah, so I don't know if that answers the question, but I put in a very positive note, but like, yeah, I think it's good for you to move to a different country. You will grow as a person big time, and I know you can relate to that. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Yes, I can. When I moved to London, it was for my ex-partner. And while I had a plan within that, outside of him, I didn't have a plan either. It was very much just like, all right, well, I'm going to go and everything will just work out. I agree that there almost needs to be a sense of like naivete like with it.
Right.
Like it just like you almost just need to have like these rose-colored glasses and like everything will be fine. It's going to be so okay. And just like dive in deep. But like I also had the experience. I studied abroad for like 6 months prior to moving as well. So I had dipped my toe in the London like scene. And so I knew a little bit more about what I was getting into. But it's different. When you commit to moving somewhere new, it's different. And there's so many challenges that come along with that. And I guess like you mentioned there being a lot of challenges and that there was burnout and that you had a lot of setbacks. So I guess my next question for you is how, I don't want to say overcome, because that word gives me the ick a little bit. But how did you work through those challenges? Like, what kept you motivated? What kept you like, yeah, I need to be here. This is where I'm supposed to be right now when things got really hard.
Well, like, obviously, I never knew if I want to stay in London. So it was kind of like, oh, should I stay another year, whatever, right? And I think the moment when it really kind of clicked was actually after COVID, I think. I came back to London for a month and then wanted to go back to Germany. And I got so many requests every time I had my foot into this area, it's London, right? I step out of the airplane, so many opportunities come my way. And that's besides me feeling like London is the city, right? It's been just so many opportunities. I had so many, I had the request for it wasn't even Taylor Swift, sorry. It was for Lady Gaga for Vogue. I got this email if I can do the cat suits for Vogue. I mean, that's a dream for a fashion designer. So that happened in London. Like, so many things just came my way. So it felt like the right thing. And I was just going with the flow. And for a long time, the flow was not really, oh, is that London or not? I don't know where to go. But I feel like that was the moment where so many things just felt right for me and for the brand. But I have to be honest, I feel like I found my community in London now, and that's almost 6 years in. Like, that is, you know what I mean? Like, I had friends here all the time, but this feels like I'm settling in. So it might take longer than you think. But with everything that came my way, that was a challenge. I just grew, and it felt still the right thing to do. And it felt like things happened that were good. If that wouldn't have happened, right, all the good things, maybe it would have looked different. But it felt like I had to be here. It just felt the right thing. And yeah, just going with it, having the big dream. And that kept me going, really.
Okay, I love so much of what you just said. I love the emphasis, like sometimes it takes time. Like it's not like an instantaneous reward sometimes. And I think a lot of people, when they're like taking on new challenges or trying to like break molds or do something or change their path or even continue along a path, they want like instantaneous results. And if they don't get them, it's so easy to be like, well, it's not working. So obviously I'm a failure. Like this isn't what I'm meant to be doing. This isn't my destiny, whatever. But it takes time. It takes so much time. I mean, full honesty, I don't think I've said this yet on the podcast, but I have been making content since high school. Not like professionally in any sort of way, but just like casually speaking, like I used to take photos and stuff and I'd put them on Instagram. I'd be like, look at me, I'm a little influencer. I'm a YouTuber. I would put out little videos in college and I'm like, looking back, I'm like, oh God, that was so cringe of me to be doing. But it helped me get to where I am today. And I don't know, that was 10 years ago now. It takes time.
It takes time, and I love that so much because it's the things that no one sees. And that's the big deal. Like, the thing is, like, what you put out sometimes, and I like that you're really real, like with, your followers. And like, I love that because we need more of that. But so many things we don't see. And I think it's very important to say you've been doing this in high school, because I also, next to my work, I was sewing at nights. Just like, all these things. And that was 10 years ago. Like always just here having that at the background. And when I dressed Taylor Swift, for example, I got DMs with like, how did that happen? And I'm like, I worked my ass off. Like people went out clubbing and I was sewing in my studio in the basement. Like that's just exactly what you said. It's the background work. It's your commitment. It's your vision. It's this part of your dream. It starts so much earlier than we see the fruits,
Oh,
So-
yeah, 100%. And like, I don't think, unless you just get really lucky, there's always a trail. There's always like a trail of hard work or learned skill in the background somewhere for pretty much everybody, I would say. I
Yeah.
mean, even we're talking about Taylor Swift because you have dressed her, which I think is so sick. But I mean, she was writing songs since the age of what, like 13? That's wild. That's wild. And like, it's just one of those things. Now she's probably one of the most recognized faces in the entire world and on top of the world with the Eras Tour and all of her amazing hard work and everything. And I just think it's inspiring to hear people that are like successful now and like hear their journey. And I think it's important to be real about that journey. It's not just like, oh, well, 4 years ago, I decided to post a video on TikTok. Like, yeah, okay, I did do that. But there was a lot of stuff before that too. And I think that's part of the experience.
It really is. Overnight success doesn't exist, in my opinion. And there is always sacrifices, but if you have that dream, it's all worth it. And you have the freedom then after, right? You're just building that up and then you're more free later. But it's all worth it. If it's your dream, it's worth it. And, like that's the next thing. You would think you can't make these things happen, but you can. Just don't lose your vision. Go work. I know we say work smart, not hard, but I do believe we need to work hard. Sorry to everyone that says work smart, not hard. I'm like, well, if you want to achieve big things, you have to put the time and your heart into this. So yeah.
Personal opinion, I don't know if I've ever worked smart because I'm always just figuring it out as I go. Like, it's just me hoping for the best, like every step of the way, having no idea what I'm doing. I just like, I love that the sentiment behind it is really great, right? Like, I'd love to be able to do that. It's never been my experience. I will always find the most difficult path to do anything, without a doubt.
Same. But look at you. You're doing great. So it's all good.
Great is relative, but yes, I'm happy with where I am and where I've been and all of it. But actually, that is a good question, I feel like, because I think you and I can both acknowledge how much work that goes into this and how much time can go into like getting to a space that you're like really free, really excited about. But within that, have you ever experienced imposter syndrome, even knowing that like things take time, and like maybe you're not where you want to be yet, or should I be here? How did I get here? Like kind of forgetting your own journey sometimes and how much work and like time went into it.
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like sometimes I'm really the person that likes to beat myself up a little bit when I'm not giving a million. Like, I feel like I always am the goal getter. I always want that achievement, but it's so important to enjoy the journey and just to chill. Really hard for me. So that's really difficult. That's like probably the most difficult thing for me. But I had this one year which I had like a lot of personal things happening to me, which we all go through. So I stepped away with the brand a little bit. Not stepped away, but I took things slow, which is quite healthy to be fair. A lot of times we go in too much and then we can't keep the brand going, which is not great. So I'd rather take it slow. And then at the end of the year, I can remember this. I did this reel, at the end of the year, a lot of us do this, like the year 2024, the year 2023. And I do think it was 2022, which I had so many things, right? I had London Fashion Week, like big things. And in 2023, I was more like a personal journey. And I could catch myself when I did the video. I'm like, oh my gosh, you didn't do anything. And I was like, no, stop it. Like I've grown as a person so much. I really had to go back and be like, this is fine. This is normal. Like, it's okay. You don't need to do London Fashion Week and dress 10 celebrities every year. It's fine. But yeah, I do believe I'd like things to go faster because I'm that person. I feel I'm really impatient, but the brand has taught me patience. So I guess that's what it is.
Wait, okay, I love that because I get that way too, where I'm just like, I did nothing this year. Because last year I was going through my divorce and like very early stages of moving. There was a lot of chaos going on, like going back and forth to London to get all my stuff. And naturally, like my work was impacted by that. Like I had to take several steps back and be like, I mentally and physically can't keep up in the way that I want to. And so at the end of the year, I was like, I did nothing. I did nothing.
But you did so much. Moving and, breaking up, there are two big stressors. Like, it's such a big thing. I've just moved and I'm like, I didn't even move countries. And it felt like the world changed. Like, that's actually such a big thing, right? But I didn't even know why we weren't beating ourselves up. Like, that's big things. Like, people don't do that in 1 year, So, yeah.
I think there's a pressure in creative spaces to just like always be churning something out. And I think part of that's the internet. Like we have these highlight reels on social media of other people. And we're like, well, we obviously have to do that. Clearly, in order to be quote unquote successful, we have to be constantly churning new things and having these cool projects and being able to put more things on our resume. But there's so much that makes up a life that's one, not career focused. That's not, and I think that's been a really tough thing for me to be comfortable with. But like, just generally speaking, like personal stressors are just as valid. Personal growth and personal achievements are just as valid. And I think also within that, to your point, these personal things can be so intense. Even just moving down the street, huge, takes so much energy. Packing up your whole life into boxes and then like shifting it anywhere else. It's a change of energy. It's a change of space. You have to become more comfortable. You have to go through all of your past and reintegrate it into your future. And that's exhausting.
Yeah.
So it's just a lot.
So we maybe need to learn to appreciate this journey as well. And I love what you said about not everything's career focused, because for me, I think since I started studying fashion design, it was only career focused. And I had that moment when I was in a retreat and then, people were like telling what they do for work. And I felt like, oh, but I actually want to be more than my brand. And it's so easy to get lost because my brand's so personal. It's me. It's my heart and my soul. It's me. But I also want to be me. You know what I mean? Like it's such a difficult thing to understand. There is also something else. So I had that last year. I started dancing. I started doing things just for me. And it's good to have that bit of a break. I think to learn as well, what are you without your career? Uh, so yeah, very good point when you just mentioned.
Thank you. I think I'm glad that you can relate to that too, because I think we have similar things where our work is so ingrained in who we are. Like, and when, again, I think with the creative industries in particular, there's just people put more of themselves into their work and it becomes more personal. And so when things aren't working out for your career, or I don't even want to say that, but are going slower in your career, it can feel like a personal rejection. It can feel like a personal attack. And that is mentally hard to like bounce back from. And so having that space to separate the two, I've loved like your dancing stuff. Like I know we've talked about that like before and how personal that is to you. And I love that. I think that is such a great expression creatively, but in a way that isn't revolved around making an income either, because there's so much danger once you start combining those things and it's so easy to then burn out. But it's not just a career burnout, then it's a whole life burnout because your life is in your career. It's a lot.
It's confusing. Yeah, very true though. Very true words. Yeah.
One thing I want to be mindful of time, and I do have my hot round questions to ask still too. But one more thing that I want to talk about a little bit is your transition into veganism and how that really has shaped who you are as a person and like why you got involved in becoming vegan and what it means to you now and the animal rights movement in general. I know that's very important to you, so I want to give you a space to discuss it.
Thank you. No, that's a really good question. It started off with me being vegetarian. My dad read this book. I always say write, and like he didn't write a book. He read a book, and he shared it with us, and it just made sense. And I started like just being vegetarian, and then here and then figuring out what that means to me personally. But it really started when I moved to London and became vegan, I think. So I was vegetarian before and I just did it because of health. And like my dad taught me a few insights and I'm like, that makes sense. And when I moved, I became vegan and it was kind of still like I was vegan, but like I wasn't an activist. Like I had started my vegan brand, as I mentioned, but it was still a big part of my life. But I really think in the last 2 years it became my whole world. In a good way, because I truly believe now, that it's my purpose to show the world within fashion what it means and how much better it is. Like it's really, I see it as my purpose, because there's so much, we just use the animals in the fashion industry so much. And a lot of people talk about, food, but I want to really talk about fashion side. So it really became, it's always probably been my purpose, but now it's been really, really, I've been focusing on it. I share it more on social media, which I haven't done before. But yeah, and then also just communicating that, doing animal activism, which has been great and really empowering and powerful. And doing that through art is my main thing. I love doing this through art, and art should be a platform to talk about the things that you, or showcase the things that are important to you. And I love that about it, doing that through art, through fashion. So it's become such a big part of me. I can't even and it just happened naturally, like it wasn't like I'm vegan and my whole world is going to be vegan. It started off and it became such a big part, and I tried to really inform people in a positive way. Let's say, yeah, I think it's my purpose. I see it as my life purpose, to be honest. It's pretty big. Yeah. I don't know if that answers the question.
No, it definitely does, because I think something that before I was familiar with you and your brand, I don't think I ever thought about veganism within fashion or in any other real industry or area, if you will, besides eating and food. I just always was like, oh, it just means that you don't eat animal product and that's that. But it can and in many ways should be considered across all spectrums, I feel like. Fashion, beauty, food, all of it. There's so many avenues that takes hold in. And again, I love that you utilize art. I think that's I believe in the power of storytelling. I believe in the power of good storytelling, and I feel like art is a means to that in so many ways. And I think it's a great communicator. It's entertainment is how we like get people to care about things, and so I think that's exactly what you do. And I love that has become your purpose, and that you say it's always been your purpose, but like it's a realized purpose now. And I think that is so beautiful, and I commend you for the work that you do with that.
Thank you so much. And you rock vegan fashion as well, as we know. You wore the cactus pant, didn't you, to the show?
Oh my, the cactus pant and the cactus jacket. So serious with you. Some of my favorite things I've ever had on my body. They were so comfortable, so warm, because London's cold. Let's be honest. London's always cold, except it's those rare like 100-degree days. It's like
Today.
always cold. Is it hot there today?
We always need to bring a jacket at like the end of the night. You're going to be cold.
100%. Even if it's hot during the day, absolutely. You're going to be freezing by like 8 p.m.
Exactly.
Absolutely. No. London is so temperamental. It's ridiculous. But the cactus leather was so like, it felt like standard leather, if you will, but it was more flexible in a lot of ways too. It felt very well made. It was heavy, but not in like an uncomfortable heaviness. It was like a proper heaviness. I don't know if that makes sense, but
yeah, it's like
I'm not in fashion. Yes.
No, it does. I get what you mean. It's the thing of like, so my goal is to show that you actually don't need the animal product. So it looks very luxurious. I think that's what I love about the cactus pieces. But yeah, you were rocking those. I'm like, yes.
Thank you. Thank you. I loved them. They were so good. And I some of my favorite photos I've ever taken are in that jacket in particular. Yeah. Oh, iconic.
Love.
Well, I want to ask, I have 4 hot button questions to round out this little chat that I have been enjoying so much. But first and foremost, I look at music as being this like really empowering unifier for so many people. It's something that we can all kind of connect on. It's something we can all relate to. And so I think it's important to ask, when you're feeling unmotivated and when you're feeling like down or like stressed, or you've just been told no and you're sad or whatever, what is a song that you can listen to that will always get you back on your feet and get you back out and like slaying the day?
Good one. Music is my love language. So music is absolutely love. It's difficult because I listen to so many different things, but I'd say there is this artist called Faith Soul, and his music is about motivation. And there is this one song, 2 actually. One is called Dreams and the other one is called Hardship. And he says in the song, through hardships comes ease. So it's very much that kind of, it's part of it. And all his songs are like this, really. So it's about growing. It's very spiritual, I'd say, in my opinion. I don't know if it is, but like, yeah, I feel like it's quite spiritual, and it's very uplifting. And it's also very like, yes, there's hardship, but it's going to be easier. Like, you just keep going. And it was very, very beautiful to listen to that. I feel like that brings me up. And a lot of these spiritual songs, I think, that are about, Live and Love More by Cat Burns. There's so many, these kind of songs really keep me going, I'd say. But yeah.
Oh, I love that. Through hardship comes ease. I feel like that has been just generally like a very foundational quote for the entire conversation we've just had. And so I kind of love that is coming through in your song choice. So thanks for sharing that. So if you're rejected or if you're told no, what is something that you do or something that you have that is in your rejection rescue toolkit, is what I'm calling it. So something you do or something you have that like helps you through a like barrier or challenge.
Wow. Good question. I'd say the paintbrush, to be fair. I think
Say more.
so.
I love
Like,
this.
if I'm feeling low, I paint. I felt a bit weird yesterday for no reason. But like, obviously, when you're rejected, you at least have a reason to feel a bit like, oh, I don't know. So I just paint. I just sketch. I need to get it out there. Um, yeah, that I'd say for me, creating, not thinking, crocheting, something with my hands. So yeah.
Wait, I love that. I don't even know if I knew that you painted. That's amazing.
Yeah, I started painting last year.
Oh,
It's my favorite thing to do. It's all my emotions go into the paintings.
can I just ask like what type of things you paint typically, or is it more just like whatever, whenever?
Well, I started now doing more my fashion figurines, so I tied it into fashion. But very abstract. But at the beginning I just started doing, the canvas and just a paintbrush and just paint. So now it became more a thing where I combine it with my fashion. Yeah, just sketching like very fashion inspired. A bit tribal, so that's kind of what I'm painting. But you can see the fashion link 100%.
Love it. Love that so much. That's so cool. I think people that can do art is just like next level because I'm not good with my hands at all. So I love that. That's so cool. Um, what is the last thing that you did scared?
The last thing I did, oh my gosh, I need to think now. Moving, actually nothing with my career moving. I've never lived on my own my whole life. Like, I was a week or two before I moved, I was like it felt it felt like the world on my shoulders. Like I was like, and the first 2 weeks, like I was like, am I going to feel lonely? Because I lived in a shared house and it was always nice having voices around, right? So I feel like that I did it because I felt like I had to, but it felt really scary. Now I feel like it's amazing, but I was so terrified. And I've done so many things moving to a different country, but like living on my own, I was like, help. But yeah, it's been really a change. It's a big change, but yeah, I'm really happy I did it.
And so you moved 2 weeks ago, right? So how are you enjoying it?
Well, it's 2 months already.
Oh, 2 months. Well, I'm
Sorry,
sorry.
I said 2 weeks. Um, it's great. It's great. It's really good. I'm really happy. It's so nice and like having your own space. And because I'm really a social bubble, uh, you know. So when I go back home, I think it's nice for me to just not be that, to just exist. Yeah, so it's been a really good change. Yeah, I love it.
I
Still getting used to the area though, but like, yeah, I love it.
oh, wait, okay. How's Rebel doing in the new space? Also
She's
an important question.
good. Yeah. So Rebel, of course, my dog's called Rebel, right? Of course. Anyway, she's good. She's a very sensitive dog, so we both get used to it, to the new area. I think she's sometimes like a bit bored because it's just me. But before we had so many people that gave her all the attention. But yeah, no, she's good. It's nice to have our little bubble together.
Yeah, it's your little space for the two of you. I love that. I think that's really cute. And so I've lived on my own for the last year now, almost. And I get it. It's been a journey. Like I am too an extrovert. I am too like somebody who prefers to be around people. And so being by myself all the time, I feel like can be a bit overwhelming, but it's helped me get more in touch with me. I don't know if you've experienced that in the last 2 months, but I think sometimes when we surround ourselves with people to fill up our social energy cup, like it can distract us from getting to know ourselves at a deeper level. And when you're by yourself, you really have a lot of time to get to know yourself.
Yeah.
So
Which is
yeah,
beautiful, but it's a bit of a journey. I
it's
can
a
relate to that.
journey. It's a journey for sure. It's something still working on myself.
Same.
But congratulations though on moving into your own space. That's a huge step and
Same
I'm
to
proud of
you.
you. Thank you.
Proud of you too.
Thank you. Okay. Final little question here for you. For anybody that may be interested in getting into the fashion industry or just generally somebody who might be interested in taking a new step in life, trying something new, what piece of wisdom or advice would you give to them?
So what just popped into my mind, which I didn't even plan to say, but I was in Mexico 3 years ago, and this woman, I did this spiritual workshop, and this woman said something which is still with me. So I want to share this because it might resonate, She said that our human bodies are made, I don't know how many percent, but like 70, 80% out of water. And she said water is always flowing and changing. And if it's not, it's dead. There is no space for life. If you think about water that is not moving, there is no life, there's no fish, there's no sea life, right? So water always changes because that's how it has life and how it moves. So this is so much like what I resonate with, because as humans, we're meant to change. And a lot of times when we get stuck, we just are not happy, or we just, maybe some are, but generally my experience is moving, learning something new. Like I've learned so many new things like the last 2 years, and like just changing, learning is so important. And also, if you want to start in the fashion industry, it's just really believing in yourself, because that's the main thing. Like I said that before, but like I did the cat suits 10 years ago. And just as I think my cat suits have been worn by so many people, by celebrities, Taylor Swift, Lady Gaga. And people always told me that no one's going to wear this. So if you truly believe in something, just go with it. You can do it. There's so much space for all of us. So, and in the creative industry, you can be successful. People, I don't know why they pick the creative industry as the main thing, that you can never be successful. You can. You really can. You just need to believe in yourself. And it's not easy, but, everyone would do it if it would be easy. But I truly believe that we need art, we need creativity so much. And I just can say, collaborate with other people and believe in yourself. That's the main things. And always change, always learn. Don't ever think you know better than anyone else. We learn from each other. We inspire each other. And also, if you find your purpose within what you're passionate about, nothing can stop you. Find your own purpose. And yeah, sharing art is so beautiful. So yeah, that was a long answer.
That was a beautiful answer is what it was. You hit on so many important points, and I'm so grateful that you were willing to share that vulnerability with all of us listening here today, because the changing water thing is really resonating with me right now. I think that is so important, and I believe like in the connection between humans and the earth and all of that too. And I think that is just like a beautiful thing to remember. Like we are always changing, we're always growing, even if we're not actively participating in that. Like we are, and that's something to just like accept and be willing to roll with the tides, if you will. So I love that.
That's life, right? That's life. It's normal. It's so normal to always evolve, and it's beautiful.
It's so beautiful. And who wants to be the same person like year in, year out? That gets so monotonous. Like life is short, but it's not that short.
No, it stay the same always. Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, what a beautiful saying. And I love nature and how it functions. So for me, that's such a good example. It's almost like logical, but you wouldn't think about it. And when you know it, you're like, oh my gosh, that makes so much sense.
It does. It really does. And I love that the note about like feeling confident in yourself too, and like what you're doing. I think that resonates in fashion and in the creative industry, but I think just in general too, is like a lot of my stuff always comes back to self-love and self-worth and knowing who you are. And it goes back to like living alone and having the space to actually get to know yourself. And I think all of that is so well tied into our whole conversation, because at the end of the day, it is about you. It is about you, and it is about you making space for you and being comfortable with you. So thank you so much, Sarah, for sharing that. And just generally, thank you so much for being on here. Where can people find you and your work and every cool thing that you're doing these days?
Well, I'm on Instagram. It's a very German name. Sarah Regensburger Official is my brand account. So yeah, that's where I share a bit more of myself as well, a bit more of what I do with activism. I inform people now as well about, veganism and the fashion industry. And yeah, I think that's the best way. My website is more a website, so I feel like Instagram is probably a bit more interesting to know all of these things. Yeah, and I'm so grateful. This has been amazing. You're such an inspiring woman. Very, very grateful to be on your podcast. So yeah.
Well, thank you so much for saying that. I am so glad that we have been connected and that we're friends and that I've had the chance to watch you grow over the last 2 years since we met. And I really love everything that you're doing on Instagram. So everybody listening, be sure to go check out Sarah and all the amazing activism work and fashion work that she's doing. And I can't wait to see what's next for you. I really can't. I think there's some big things on the horizon.
Same for you. I can feel it. I can feel the energy.
The energy on this podcast is next level. It's like, I was like really tired, and I'll be fully transparent, a little hungover this morning. I just feel like you cured everything. Like you came on here with your energy, and I'm like, yes, wait, this
Yes,
is so great.
Love that. I love that. That is so good.
So thanks for that personally, but also just thank you in general for sharing with everybody here today. I hope you have a great rest of your day. Thank you everybody for listening, and we will be back next week, y'all. So I will see you then. Thank you, Sarah.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you guys so much for tuning into this week's episode of Access Denied. New episodes launch every Tuesday, so I hope that you will subscribe, download, whatever you do to make sure you're here every single week. We have so many incredible guests coming on, and I want to say a huge shout out to JP Warner Sound for dropping this sick beat that you're listening to right now. Thanks to everybody who made Access Denied possible, and I will see you next time. Bye!